Hi and welcome to Design on the Fly by Honest String Metallic Mashup. Today we're going to be working with some beads and supplies from Angie at Chicky Babes Beads, and there'll be a bit of a link in the chat later on so you can see her Facebook page and have a look at some of the things that she gets to do as well. Angie owns a store in Shepparton, Victoria, Australia, and she's one of my great bead suppliers, and I love working with her on these projects. So today's theme is metallic mashup, and all I said to Angie was, give me some metallic beads. So we've got a box of beads here. We'll be opening and unboxing them together. I don't know what's going to be in there, and then we'll start making these things, designing on the fly. So let's dive in and have a look at what's in the box from Angie today. Okay, here is the little metallic box that came in the mail to me. As you can see, I haven't unwrapped this yet, so let's have a look and see what's inside. And she's done the box in the metallic themes as well. Design on the Fly Metallics. And she's got a list here, so we'll have a look at that in a moment just to see what's actually in here. Okay, oh, some rose gold. If you know me, you know how much I love rose gold. There's some cup chain. There's a little filigree, some little rose gold sparkly rounds as well. So let's have a closer look at those. And the rose gold theme, beautiful components. So we've got here a little filigree piece, or two actually. There's two there. Bang, there's a pair of earrings straight up with those. There's some little sparkly rose gold crystally ball things and some little flower cap spaces as well, along with some beautiful cup chain in rose gold. And it's got a really nice AB crystal sort of shiny part in there as well. Really lovely little section there of rose gold. So, I'm already excited to be thinking about using that. So I'll put the rose gold things to that side over there. Next up we have gold. Okay, what's she put in here? Really fun pieces. When I do these design on the flies, it's always so exciting because I don't know what's going to be coming up in these boxes. So the bead suppliers that I work with, they literally surprise me, and then I get to design on the fly. So here we have, oh, this is interesting. It's a metallic, gold metallic wire corded braid. Okay, so that's going to be a really nice piece to be able to use around something. And often what I do with these is add in some of my own beads if I need to as well, but I do try and just use what's in the pack. We've got two glass lentil beads. They're 13 mils with gold and black, gorgeous colorways in them as well. And then there's some little 4 mil bicones too in the gold arum. And oh, look at those cute two little bows. So gorgeous little gold charms. Okay, we've got rose gold and gold. What else is here? Of course, the other hero metallic is silver. So what's Angie given me this time? Okay, this really interesting sort of drop piece. So it's like a filigree sort of metal. And you know, they're the sort of things that you can bead around. We can do a drop from that. It can be a connector piece with a chain on both ends. So I'll have fun playing around with that as some sort of pendant, I think. And then in here we have, wow, Angie, look at this. This is a brooch and magnifier. That's amazing. Oh, particularly for someone like me who, you know, needs to be able to see up close things. Look at that. I can use that as a magnifier. Wow, what are we going to do with that one? It definitely needs some sort of bead fringing here on the center there. And then when I flip, I'll show you on the shirt, you can just pin that on. That's a nice fun one to play with. There's also some little Monties here as well. What does she call these? 10 by 4 mil rose Monties. So they've got that little cross back at the cross hatch back there as well. And here, now what's in this metallic bit? This is interesting because it's in a pink bag and they're bits and pieces. We've got some little pink, I need my glasses, I can't see that really well. We've got some little pink fire polish in 3 mil there. Oh, wow, that's a beautiful colour. Some super duos, they're hot pink, and they are called Matte Metallust Hot Pink. They're a Paula colour if ever I saw one. We've also got some of these gorgeous crystals here, some couple of drops. So they're called crystal octagons in Volcano, and they've got a little hole on them as well, so really easy to make those into a pair of earrings. Some little drop duo beads as well, and some tiny dagger beads. So great selection of little bags here and bits and pieces, and let's get started. So I will try and make something today out of each colorway, and let's think about what will I start with first. So is there anybody here who'd like to give me a suggestion of what to start with first? If not, I'll just do a bit of a random 1, 2, 3 and close my eyes and think about which one. So I've got gold, rose gold, silver, and the hot pink. I think I'm going to start with the rose gold colour. So let's dive in and have a look at that. I'll put these other bits and pieces aside and come back to those. Okay, so rose gold, in terms of a metallic, it's a great colour that contrasts really well with white, black, with other metallics. So you can use, you know, gold and silver really easily with this as well, but also a really beautiful colour to go with pink, orange, green, blue. Is really great contrast colours with that. For something like this, because these filigree pieces have got such really, you know, great structure and holes in them already, they're perfect for mounting things onto as well. Great, you know, holes here to do those sort of earring hooks, and I can add some of my own into that. But the first thing I want to do is mount something into the center of those, and then potentially add the crystal ball drop at the top with a wire and then an earring hook on that, or even use the little flower connectors on there also. I'm not sure that I'll use the cup chain in with this, other than potentially, you know, I could, no, I sort of thought I could mount some of the cup chain around that, but I think it's not they're not a flat filigree. See how it's got a nice little bend in it? So it's going to be perfect for mounting a stone or a center in, but not necessarily for adding a cup chain. So I'm going to put that to one side. Now, let's think about what I'm going to put in the middle. I do have some really nice little tiny, let me grab those out of my drawer over here, plain cats. I've got some little pearl, flat back pearls. So I've got these little black ones, and I think they might be just perfect. They're about an 8mm, so they have no hole or anything in them, but that's going to sit really nicely just on the center of that piece. And then I can do some little capture around the edges of that, and then potentially do some more work around some of those other holes. So let's play around with that for a minute. The rose gold and black is a classic combo as well, and I think, you know, then I can think about what the outside bead for that is going to be. And I've got this really nice coppery coloured one that can go around that, or even a black or a delica as well. So I think I might start with one row of this light copper. So I'll just pop some of those out, thread a needle, and off we'll go. So I'm going to grab my needle and thread here out of my thread holder. So if you're new to On a String, you may not have seen some of the tools and things that we have, but one of the ones that I'm using here on my desk is what's called an RBT. So it's a Ready Bead Tidy thread holder, and it holds my beading threads, it holds my awls, needles, my thread burner, so everything. So I'll show you that in a little bit later on, but there will be a product link on the bottom for this as well. So I'd like to just welcome to some of our friends that have joined me here today. So I've got Glenda and Penny, who are both online, and I have Brian working with me today as well. So Brian is my brother and my production manager in the things that we do here with On a String, and he's joining me here today and running the computer and the camera and all those sort of things, so that I get to just bead and talk, which, you know, if you know me, you know that's what I love to do. Okay, so I'm just having trouble threading a needle, which is ridiculous after the amount of needles I've threaded in my life, but here we go. Now I've just chosen some Fireline 6mm in the smoke colour, and with these little 8mm, now you could pop a dab of glue, or even a little tiny bit of double-sided tape. So my double-sided tape is over there, and I'm just going to grab that. And the double-sided tape that I like to use is this really fine, this one's called Terrifically Tacky Tape, and this is about if you're talking inches, like I don't know, an 1/8 of an inch, something along those lines. But what I really like about this, it's pretty much invisible. So when it's, because it's clear, I can pop that. If you watch here, I've got a little tiny bit, and you can see the little red backing on that. I'll just pop that on the back of that bead that has no hole or anything on it. So I can't stitch it down, but I want it to sort of hold firm. So I'm just grabbing my awl. I want it to hold firm on the piece whilst I bead around it. So I just take off that little piece of backing. So if you look really closely, you can just see that little bit of tape on the back of the piece there. Now what that'll do, that will help hold that in place on this little piece of filigree here, just while I bead around it. And it's pretty much, as I said, invisible, but it just helps me just press that down with my thumb like that. So there you go. I've just tacked that down with that little bit of tape so that it's not going to move around while I bead it. So really good tip there. Use that sort of little bits of terrifically tacky tape. And the beautiful part of these sort of filigree pieces, they've got such great holes in them for beading around. So I'm just going to secure my thread by going through a couple of those holes to get a really good start, and then make sure that I've got an even number of beads around so that I can do a peyote capture around this piece. Okay, so there's my thread is attached, and I can sort of knot that as well, just so that I'm, you know, really confident with that attachment on here. Just going through a couple of loops like that. Okay, so now I'm just going to pick up some of these copper beads, and actually I'm just going to start with 2 at a time so that I keep that even, and just make sure that I go through those beading holes on the filigree, come back up, and just really push my needle anywhere through that piece so that I'm in the right spot to then add the next 2 beads. Another tip I'll add with these is sometimes when you're working with these filigree pieces, it can sort of get caught on some of the metallic parts. So just watch for that as you're beading around them. Again, I've just picked up another 2 beads, and then I'm going to come back up through and split that previous pair of beads, and then I'm going to go through 3. So by doing that back stitch foundational row, every single time I'm going through those beads and securing them. So if you look here, you can see I've just got 4 beads added on there now. So again, I'm going to pick up 2 beads, go through the next hole, and add like that. So let's have a bit of a think about some of the other things that work really well with metallic. I love metallic as a great neutral option to go with any sort of colour bead. And really, depending upon the colour of the beadwork that you're doing, sometimes it might be gold is the best colour to put with it. Could be silver if you want a sort of a cooler look, or it could be rose gold if you want that sort of warmer pinkish look as well. So when you're thinking about your bead work and you want a metallic neutral, often the color of your beads will determine the color of the metallic piece that you want to put in it. And with our findings, so earring wires and clasps and chain and those sort of things predominantly being in metallic colors, I really like to make sure that if I'm using a commercial clasp or anything like that in a metallic tone, that I definitely have an element of the metallic bead in the work as well, because it can look a little bit odd if all of your bead work is done in multiple colors and then you just have this sort of metallic clasp and you haven't themed that by adding in an extra metallic bead into your work. So if you're thinking about tips and ways of using colour blocking and that sort of thing, make sure that you check out onastring.com.au. We've got some great free printable guides around different topics related to bead design. So there is definitely one there called Colour Chat, and there's another one called Colour Blocking, which I think might be coming out in the next couple of weeks. But make sure that you have a look at some of those different free printable guides, and I'll get Brian to pop a link into the chat here so that you can get to see the colour blocking and the colour chat printable guides that help give you a few tips on choosing and selecting colours. Now, Glenda's asked a question of where to get the tape. That's the sort of thing you can buy at Spotlight or online at somewhere like Amazon. And what you want is what's called either terrifically tacky tape or just double-sided tape. And look for the one that's got the red coating around it. And it definitely does come in different widths. That skinny one is probably my preferred because I'd rather put a couple of skinny rows down on, and it works really well with small beads. But just, yeah, look out for that at somewhere like Spotlight or a craft store if you're not in Australia. Okay, I've nearly done my first row. So I just want to sort of pull that to make sure that it's really circular. Now remember, this is not holding the beads in place yet because I need to do another row on top of that. But I just want to make sure that it's even. Then I've got, so I picked up 2 beads every time, which is the trick when you're doing a capture. Make sure that I don't loop it around those corners of the filigree piece. So there's my round circle of beads already. Now remember, this is only just held down with that tacky tape, so I need to do another row on top to hold that in place. And what I'm going to utilize this time, and I love doing this sort of stripy effect and using a smaller bead every time to hold that in place, is I'm just going to grab some black delicas because they're slightly smaller than the 11 beads, so they'll come up over the top of that cabochon. So this time I'm picking up a black delica and I'm skipping over one of the size 11 beads, and I want that delica to just sit on top there of that, probably a little bit hard to see, but I'll hold it up close. So you can see that delica bead just sitting on the top there of the size 11 bead. So just repeat that around. So what this does is start to hold that little cab in place. So just skipping over a size 11 each time. Black on black is a bit hard to see, but it will look really effective when it's actually done. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Angie's Bead Store in Shepparton. Angie's Bead Store and Chicky Babes Beads is an absolute treasure trove of beads. I've always been super impressed when I've been to visit in person or with Angie's great customer service in, you know, popping things up on Facebook, and then I just say to her, oh, look, I really like that, and she'll send those to me. She's got a really great selection of filigree pieces and different metallic components. One of the biggest selections of fire polish beads I've ever seen, and really great cabs, you know, things like some of these glass cabs that have got picture images and things like that on it. So if you ever get an opportunity, if you're traveling to Australia and you want to see something really unique, get out to Shepparton and have a look at Angie's Bead Store at Chicky Babes Beads, or make sure you follow along on Facebook and see some of the different bead challenges and things like that that she does as well. So again, thank you to Angie for sponsoring today's session, or that one's just needing a little bit of a wiggle to get in place. So sometimes, because the surface I'm working on is not even, they're just, beads are finding their home and moving around. So that time I actually had to go through 2 instead of 1 just to get it through, and then I have to reverse back and come back out again. And if you've watched these with me before, and I've been doing design on the flies for a couple of years now, you know that what I'm doing here is literally making it up as I go. And sometimes you'll see me make mistakes and have to undo things. And what I'm trying to show you is this is what real beading and designing looks like. I'm not following a pattern, so I don't really have an idea of what this might end up looking like yet. I don't have a finished picture in my head. And I will make a mistake and have to go, oh, okay, that didn't work. We need to cut that, or, you know, redo that piece as well. So I do hope you enjoy this concept of design on the fly. These sessions go generally for about 2 hours of me beading and talking the whole time and just making up different pieces. So I really love this concept and making sure that people get to see the design process in live. Okay, now I'm just holding that up so you can see how I've now got the row of delica beads there as well. It's black on black, which makes it slightly hard to see, but that second row is now holding that cab in place. And what I want to do is now highlight that gap by popping in grab one of these, a little coppery rose gold bead, size 15 now in each of those gaps, because that, you'll see what I mean when I do it. I've stepped up through that delicate bead, and now when I pop that little tiny rose gold bead in there, in between each of those delicas, it's just going to highlight that little black flat back pearl really easily. So again, one size 15 in between each of those delicate beads. And then our cab will be pretty much captured, which is great. Nice and secure. It's got that really nice center. I'll be able to cut that little tail thread off at the back as well. So a little tiny piece of tacky tape, securing the thread on the filigree piece, and then 3 simple rows of peyote to hold it in place. And all of a sudden I've got a really nice earring component, almost done, but I've got some other little tiny bits of rose gold pieces here that I'm going to want to put with that. And because of the beautiful holes and frilliness of that filigree piece, I think it's a great way to add more onto it. And always with these sessions, I tend to make one earring and then I'll make the other one at a later stage so that I do have a finished pair. So you won't see me make both earrings today because I do have lovely silver and gold and hot pink to play with as well. But you'll get the gist. Okay, there's my last one popped in. So how good does that look? Beautiful little dome there. You can just see that slightly on the side. Nice and secure. What I really like is that the copper beads that I did in the first row have blended so well into that rose gold filigree. They've blended perfectly. Okay, now I'm going to just pull my needle through a couple of beads, because what I'd like to do now is do something that comes up the spine of these this filigree piece. I think it's just a natural spot to add things onto. But I think what I want to probably try and add is some black beads so that I'm starting to tone that black in. So what I'm going to grab out of my bead stash is my 4mm black bicones, or black rounds. What have I got here? Some black rounds and some black bicones, which I know where they are. They're in another box over here. So I was using them in another project. There you go. Okay. Black bicones and some black rounds, and let's see how these sort of look in here as well. The bicones will give a really nice sharp edge, and the rounds sort of match this piece, but I think, oh, maybe I'll do a combo. That might work too. Okay, yeah. No, I need a different colour. I need a rosy gold colour, and I know I've got some, yeah, some rose gold. I think I actually bought these from Angie, these rose gold ones, or coppery coloured ones. So we're going to make little strands. Again, you can see me making this up as I go. I'm going to pick up a copper bead, a bicone bead, a round, a bicone and a copper. So just a nice little strand. I'm not sure if this will be too long yet or not, but my idea is that it's going to just fit on that piece there, and it is too long. So let's rethink that. I think I might need a 15 bead or a smaller 4mm, one or the other. I'll see what works first. Okay, I'll try again. So I'll try a 15 bicone, round bicone, and then a 15. I might not need 15s at both ends. I might just need it at the start. Yeah, no, I actually need a 3mm round. The 4mm is just slightly too big. So I'm going to grab out a 3mm round. Again, this is me designing it as I go. So just thinking about There again, I've got the 3mm in exactly the same bead. Slightly different coppery colour, but it still works. I'll pop them aside. Okay, so I've kept on that 15 bicone, 3mm, and then 15 again. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I'm going to take advantage of that really nice hole there at the end of the filigree piece, and then I'm going to come back through that little strand that I just added. Through the bicones, so the whole section and the 15 there, and then just back through one of the same 11s that I've come out of. When I pull that nice and tight, that should hopefully land. So you can see how I've just made that little strand that's come off the side there. Okay. Now, it's not firm yet, it's still a bit loose, so I just need to jiggle my thread and needle and pull that tight. Yeah, that's better, that's landed now. And then I'm going to come back through a couple of those edge beads there. It's actually better coming off the edge bead than it is off the base bead, so there's a tip for you. That's partly, I think, because of the varying depths with that wave in the filigree piece in the first instance. So I'll come up through one of the edge beads rather than the 11 bead that I did on the first one. So there's, yeah, just another tip in thinking about placement and that sort of stuff. Okay, so again, my sequence was a 15, a bicone, a 3mm, another bicone, and then another 15, and then just go all the way through, up through that loop at the end, that nice big hole, come back down through that same strand of beads again, and then through those edge beads. So just using the edge beads that I put on in the last row of that peyote around the cab. There we go, we've now got 2 strands. So you can see how that looks. Again, taking advantage of one of those edge beads to create that little strand again. Like that. Again, 15, bicone, round, bicone, and 15. And of course, if you want the beads that I'm using in this design on the fly today, just get in touch with Angie. She's put these beautiful packs together. So if you're looking for the same sort of beads, and then you can, you know, watch along and watch the video and make at your own pace as well, you'll be able to do that. So great way to see how to use some of the components that are available. Okay, so there we go. I've got 3 strands done now. So again, I'm going to go all the way through that edge. And do one final little strand. You can see here there's the 3. That one's just needs to move a little bit just to be straight. Pull that tight up, there we go. And I'll just do the 4th one. So they come together really well. I mean, there's different ways you could, you know, do more fringing around the edge. There's lots of different components you could do with this type of thing. But what we want to sort of highlight is that filigree piece. We don't want to lose, you know, the prettiness of that by covering too much of it with beads. I just want to still be able to see that open weave of the filigree. Again, come back up through. And that is pretty much the beading component done for this type of piece. hold that, oh, just broke my thread. Okay. Always the joy working with filigree and crystals that your thread can actually break, which it just did there. So I'll just take that off again. And I'm going to show you my method of joining thread. So there's my break, there's my thread. I'm just going to tie a really nice loop on the end of my new thread that I'm adding in, and there's a little bit of a tail where it broke before. If I pop that loop over the top of my thread and I just draw that tight so the two pieces are tied together, what I like to do then is grab my clippers or scissors, do a really nice clean cut on both of those edges there as well. Oh, that just pulled right off then. I'm not using my proper scissors and I should grab them. I'll do that again. So what I like about this method is I can get a join really close to the work. So you can see how short that tail is there on that piece. If I pop that loop over the tail like that, draw that tight, grab my proper scissors and just clip that and make a really nice clean haircut on that piece. Then I get my trusty lighter and I'm just going to gently melt both ends. So the new piece that I'm adding, or the rejoining, and the tail, pull that together, and there you can see I've just created a really nice firm knot that is nice and close to the work, so it's not going to travel through too many beads. That's one of the reasons I like to do the knot that way, is that it means that it's not traveling through loads and loads of beads because it is so close to the work. Okay, I'll do that again. Okay, there's the bit, and I'm not going to yank too tight here because I don't want to break the thread again. Just firmly but not super, super tight. And then come back through a couple of those edge beads just to straighten that up again. Okay. So here we have a really great little filigree piece now with the lovely cross on there with those pieces going. The sparkle from the bicone, you can see when that just moves, it gives a little bit of shine and sparkle. And now we want to add on a couple of, I think this particular drop here, maybe we might not use that, but definitely a really nice earring wire. So I've got some lovely rose gold ones, and I'm going to grab one of them out. Or a black one. A black one would work really well too with this, you know, just keeping that theme of black and rose gold. But I've definitely got some nice rose gold ones, so we're going to pop one of them on here. Okay, now what I want to do is finish this thread so that it's secure. So I'm just sort of going through, you know, a couple of beads here and there, and then I'm going to secure and knot that thread, you know, coming through some of those holes. It's just, here we go. And again, you know, got to sort of thread through a couple to get to the right spot. Because I want to just be able to snip off that working thread now that I've secured it. There are lots of holes that I can sort of go through. There we go. It's just a matter of sort of poking the needle around until it comes out somewhere, like it just did there. Okay. Just burn off that end of the thread there with my thread zapper. And take off that little tiny tail thread from the very start. Here is a finished component. Okay. Let's grab out an earring wire. And I have my fancy earring settings here. And I've got some nice rose gold ones with the little crystal on the top. But I don't know that that's going to work because I feel like the crystal sort of takes away from the black. So I think I just want plain rose gold ones, which are in this box. Just really nice simple ones. Something along those lines is all I want for this. Okay. So I'll grab my pliers. Like that. And of course they've got a nice, you know, sort of hook there at the top hole there, and I'll be able to just hook that straight into one of these end pieces that I've done here as well. Just find the right one, or I could hook it that way if I wanted to make it square, but I don't know that that works. I think they definitely work better on an angle. Okay, I'll just pull that out so that it's open enough for me to hook onto a hole. And Angie's just commented that the filigree and the black work really well together, that it makes it pop. And I agree, it's such a classic combo. So I've just found the right spot to hook that through. Just sort of had to fiddle around a little bit to get it into one of those outer holes. And close that little loop up with my pliers. And bingo bango, there is one earring done. So what are we up to? We are really at the 11:36. I've been going for half an hour and I've got one earring done out of the components. So I love how that looks together. And that was Anita, not Angie. That's Brian writing that down. So thanks, Anita. And Anita and Penny, just a little bit of a shout out to both of you, both members of the Studio Crystal Club by On a String. So thank you for your ongoing support and membership. And members of the Crystal Club actually making this pendant at the moment. So if you can just see up here, the Crystal Celestial pendant is one of the ones that our Crystal Club members are making. So I might get Brian just to flip the camera onto me so that you get to see that. So see this pendant here? This is called the Celestial pendant, and members of our Crystal Club at On a String Studio, they're the only ones that get to make that, because the workshops in that studio and in the Crystal Club are not shared anywhere else. So if you like this sort of look, make sure that you have a look at the studio by On a String to see some of the things that we're doing in that area. Okay, and I think Brian might pop some links for those things on the chat. Now, I'm just going to clear away some of these beads because I can get in a mess here before you know it. So I'm just going to move some of these off. So there's rose gold done. We've got a really great earring with the black. I've got still some other little components here. I've still got the little rounds and the cup chain and the flower spaces there as well, the bead caps. Might use them on something yet, I don't know, but I'll just put those things away, and I'll put away the black. Actually, I'll leave one out because I'm going to need that to make the second earring. I'll just pop them away as well. Okay, there's another thing to put away. What colour will I do next? Has anyone got any suggestions? We have gold, we have silver, and we also have the hot pink with the volcano, which has got some metallic. So pop in the comments if you've got a preference of which you would like me to make next. I'm not fussed. I'll go and do anything. So if there's something you really want to see me do, gold, silver, or hot pink, now's your opportunity to say while I'm just clearing some of these things out of the way. And then we can have a look at what the next thing is on this design on the fly. Okay, bead mat clear, ready to go for the next thing. Any suggestions from anybody? Waiting for Brian to sort of come back and tell me. If not, I'm just going to grab here my gold. Let's have a look at gold. No? Brian doesn't care. Okay, I've got this little piece of cord.
Hang on, hot
here.
pink is
Hot
winning.
Pink.
Hot pink is winning.
Hot pink. Oh, yeah.
There's a poll.
There's a poll. Fantastic. Thank you. Hot pink. Yes, you know how much I love hot pink. I'm pretty happy to do that as well. This colour here, this Super Duo. So that was called Super Duo's Matte Metalust Hot Pink. They are going to be on my shopping list. Look at the colour of those. I'm just going to pop them up here so you get to see them. So they've got a really sort of deep pink and slightly purplish tone to them. And the colour sort of shifts when you, oh, they match my nails. The colour shifts as well. I think they're stunning. With that volcano are going to look amazing. And then the little hot pink fire polish as well. So I'm glad the hot pink won. It's also got this blackish drop duo beads. So this, again, we could possibly put some black with this too. Now, the volcanoes that Angie has given me, the volcano crystal drops, they actually have a hole on them. So if I was going to bead around them like a cab, the hole is a little bit problematic because you really have to come right up over the edge to cover that hole, and I don't really want to do that. You lose the impact of that crystal. So for me, it's more about this becomes a drop off a piece rather than bead around it. So that's my sort of thinking because of the hole that's in there. And of course, I might change my mind because I have been known to do that as well. But to me, this is where these sort of little black drop duos, the hot pink, they go together particularly well. So I might need to think about how to make that into a bit of a round, and I'll need a spacer bead to put in that. So I'm going to grab out some demi-round beads. How's that for those who know me? Love a demi-round bead, and I've got both a rose gold and a black here. I think I've got a hot pink too, to be honest. So, but both of these colours, and let's have a look which looks better. I think maybe the rose gold. So I'll just pop some of those out. So again, this is, you know, hot pink and metallic working really, really well together. So I'm just going to pick up a super duo, a demi-round and a drop duo. Demi-round, super duo. That's sort of the sequence. And let's pop those into a ring. And I think I'll probably need maybe five drop duos. 5 drop duos, five super duos. Maybe 6, because I want it to be maybe even 7. I want it to be substantial. I don't want it to be too small. If it's too small, it's hard to get into that circle particularly well. So maybe 5 or 6. We'll see how that goes. And how does my circle actually look? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I try that, yeah, it's a bit small. We'll do 6. And let's see what that looks like. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. And one final demi-round in between. And I'm just going to tie that into a ring. Create a really nice circle. These colours are just, oh, they're Paula colours if ever I've seen them, but they look so good together. The hot pink and the drop duo with that sort of metallic-y pink black background work exceptionally well together. So there's my really nice little circle. Look at that. And you can see when we do a bit of a drop there, that's going to look beautiful with that volcano crystal as well. Now, this is the fun part about working with 2-hole beads, and I personally am a big fan of the 2-hole bead because what we have is this really lovely hole now that we can then pop something else in between. So it's going to lead itself. Oh, look at that. I've made a mistake. Can you see what I've done? I have forgotten a drop duo, a demi-round right there in between. So let me just not get too excited and just undo that. And of course, because it's just my sort of first round, it will pull and undo, I think. Yep, there it comes. And I can just restart that and pop that demi-round in. So again, I'm literally making this up as I go. And I have forgotten a bead in that little sequence. Anyone else ever done that? Forgotten a bead as you're stringing things on something? Not hard to do, particularly when you're not following a pattern. But you can see I just did that then. So where was that missing one? Right there. I missed it right all the way back there. So let's just take that off and start that again. Okay, so super duo, demi-round, drop duo, demi-round, super duo, demi-round, drop duo. Oh, nearly did again. Now, how many is that on my little string here? More than 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Great, one of you can come off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and demi-rounds at both ends, and demi-rounds in all the gaps. Yay! Ready to do this properly this time. Okay, so anyone else made mistakes like that? Make sure you pop a comment in there if you have. It's really good to hear that I'm not the only one that can do those sort of things, that we all make a mistake from time to time. But again, look at those colours. Fabulous. Fabulous, fabulous. Love this, Angie. That's a really great, great super duo colour. Haven't seen that one before. The Metalust Matte Hot Pink. Okay. Now, back to where I was before. So again, what I said, the 2-hole beads are absolutely perfect for adding in that sort of next component. So what I might add in here is, I think, do I want to try and bring some of the black in? I do have a size 8, no, don't like them, size 8 black bead there, but I think probably what I need is a little 2 mil. 2 mils are over here, no. 2 mils here, a little 2 mil, because, and I've got, okay, let's have a look what I've got here. I have a hot pink or purpley 2 mil, that might work. I have a sort of blacky grey, no, don't like that. I have these little yellowy gold AB fire polish, but I don't think that works either. I think that purpley pink one might be the go to pop in there. Okay. And, you know, in place of a 2 mil, you could potentially use an 8, size 8 bead as well if you wanted to. But yeah, I think the little 2 mil purpley pink ones might be the way to go. So I'm just going to pop one of them. And I could alternate the colours too and put, you know, a black or a different sort of colour bead, but just pop one of them in between. Let's see what that looks like. Yep, that's the colour, that's the size, and that's the colour. So the 2 mils, you know, they are tiny. Finding that sort of hole and putting that in there so you can see how that just fills it. And straight away I know what the next step of this is going to be. Anybody got any ideas of what I'm going to do next with these? I can sort of see how this is already going to come together in terms of a next layer of these sorts of beads and fill that flower shape in particularly well. I've also have those 3 mil fire polish that Angie gave me with this too, but the 3 mil is slightly too big, I do think, for this hole. Now, not to say that I might not use them anyway, but the 2 mil works perfectly here. So I'm just picking up the purpley coloured ones, purpley pink, that go really, really well with that super duo colour, and using those second hole on both the drop duo and the super duo bead to hold that in place. Okay. And this sort of component style beading, you know, I'm just making, you know, one sort of round that could become or will become an earring, but you know, you can definitely turn these into a component that becomes part of a bigger piece. It can become a component for a necklace, it can become a base for a ring. Lots of ways that you can actually build on these sort of circular components. Okay, anyone got any ideas of what I'm going to do next? So I've got this lovely, I'll just hold it up so you can see it really close. Got this lovely curve here of the drop duo bead, and I can see this is where we'll start to make some points. And what I'm going to do is bring in some more black now. Because of the black of those drop duo beads, what I want to do is highlight that. But I'm going to do that with a little size 15, again the rose gold 15, and I think I'm going to pop a 15, a black and a 15, and then go through the next 2 mil bead, and let's just see how that looks, and creating that point on the top of a drop duo bead. And is it a big enough sort of gap? It's probably not. I probably need some, see that's a bit loose there. So the size 15 is too small. Okay, it's good to know at this stage. I don't really like those demi-rounds that I grabbed out. They seem to be more of a spacer than a demi-round as well. So I'm just going to swap those for a different style. And that's just sometimes the nature of, yeah, they're better. These ones are a matte black and they're a bit cylindrical, whereas this one that I just grabbed out is a proper demi-round and is a bit rounder. Yep, that's better. And I can see already by looking, I'll show you up close the comparison of the two. So that's the matte one and that's the demi-round one. So let's just have a really good close-up look. So you can see here the matte one is a bit more cylindrical and the shiny one is rounder. So I think the shiny one definitely is going to work better. And I think I need a size 11 bead with that and not a 15. Now, let's go back to the rose gold colour. So I do have, I've got the same rose gold, but that's a Toho, and I don't really like them with that. And I have the light copper, I'll go with them. So, you know, depending upon this type of bead, the Miyuki beads, you know, I like the rounder sort of style of those. I tend to use those more than I use Tohos. Now Tohos are a squarer sort of bead, but it really just depends on what you're making. For me, thinking about what the finish is going to be and how I want that to look will often determine the type of bead that I'm going to pick. Okay, there we go. There's my little section that I've put on the outside of that. So it's an 11, demi-round and an 11. And then I'm going through the 2 mil, the Super Duo, and then the 2 mil, and just sort of drawing that so that it's creating those points off the edge there of the piece. Okay, just repeat that again. And it's going to go around that rounded part of the drop duo bead and create really nice points. And using demi-rounds for this sort of thing, they are a fantastic anchor bead. You know, if you're making this into little components, this is the sort of thing that you can then anchor and join and connect those together with the demi-round bead because of that sort of large hole that's there as well. Also gives you great ways to build out off the sides of these sorts of pieces too. So as much as I was sort of thinking this is an earring component, the more layering and things that I put onto this, it can become a more substantial pendant piece as well. At this stage right now, this is probably as big as you would make it for an earring. It needs a little bit more structure to it yet. It's still a bit floppy to be an earring on its own right. And of course, we've got that lovely hole in the middle, which, you know, could I mount that in the middle? No, because remember, I want to try and hide that hole. I don't know. What do you think? Will that hide the hole? Or maybe it will. Maybe it will. Look, I've put that volcano in there. And if I can hide the hole, then I could potentially make that a double-sided and mount that in the centre. That might work too. So, you know, thinking all the time of the way that I'm going to finish this off. But I really do like these colour combos together. Metallic hot pink, they're just looking gorgeous. As I said, it could be that this mounts in there like that. Has anyone got any opinions of that if I mounted that in there? Because what I could do is make a secondary piece that sat at the back and zip those together with those lovely anchor points that I've just created. I think that's what I'm going to do. I just want to make sure that I do cover that hole though, so I'll have to be really careful and think about what that might look like, but I think that's what I'm going to do. So let's make a second one of these. Saw how quickly that went together. I'm just going to finish that thread off on that one there, make a second one, and when I do the second one, I'm going to use the demi-round bead to join the back and front together. So I'm just going to take that off there. Put that to one side, okay, my little component there. And again, it's a sort of component you could make into lots of different things, as I said. So let's build another one using that same sequence of demi-rounds. You like the crystal in the center, Anita? Yep, I think that's what I'm leaning towards as well. I just want to make sure we don't see the hole. That's the tricky part. The hole is going to be distracting if you can see it, and maybe there's a way to put some sort of other crystal type thing on there to stop seeing the hole, but I think we'll work with that. Okay. Yes, I've got a demi-round in between each one. I have Brian here. When you make a comment or make a suggestion, I can't actually see that on screen. So Brian is transcribing that for me. So if my response is a bit slow, it's because I'm relying on my secretary to write those prompts out so that I can actually see them. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, look at that. See, mistake again. I put two super duos next to each other. I'll just take one of them out. Not concentrating. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That should be it. 1, 2, 3. Yep, okay. So again, same sort of thing. Just tie that into a ring. And this will build pretty quickly, actually. And because we're going to do a front and back of this and put the crystal in the center, all of a sudden the stability and structure of this will become much, much firmer. So again, I'm just going to do the 2 mil in. I've gone up through the top hole of the Super Duo bead. I'll go out some more 2 mils. And then we'll do that outer row and we'll join the two together and we'll capture that little volcano crystal right smack bang in the middle. Be some beautiful sparkle coming off that. The volcano is gorgeous, particularly with that matte Super Duo bead. So as I've said earlier, if these are the sort of beads that are capturing your attention, make sure that you check out Chicky Babe's Beads and Angie's great supplies that she has there. And she would more than likely put together the same sort of kit for you if that's what you wanted as well. So please make sure you reach out to Angie. And thanks again, Angie, for being the sponsor of today's Design on the Fly session. Okay. Nearly done. Oops, just flicking that one over there. You can see here I've got some sort of grey purpley beads mixed in with my purple beads, so I'm just putting those ones to one side. You know, it's just storage. How many containers do you need? Sometimes I just mix it up because I haven't got another container to put another colour in, and they're close enough, but separate enough that I can see that when I'm actually beading and pull those out if I pick up the wrong one. Okay, so remember we're going to do the join now as well. Okay, so there's my base piece. So I'm going to pick up a size 11 bead. Then I'm going to grab my existing one, size 11. I'm going to go through the demi-round bead on the existing component, pick up another size 11, and then go through the 3 beads. So this is how we'll be joining the front to the back of this piece. And they'll be really nice little anchor points there. See, like that? Okay, I'll just show you up close. So you can see how I've just joined the two together there. There's the demi-round. I mean, this is another way you could make lots of components joined together as well. You know, make a bracelet. Really great way to build component beading. But we're going to use these as little zips. So again, I'll just fold those on top of one another. I've picked up a size 11. I'll go through the demi-round on the original and another size 11, and then go through the 3 beads. And I'll do this, you know, to the point where I can just pop the crystal in the middle. And, you know, 3 or 4 little connections. Don't want to close it all the way up because the crystal won't fit. So there's sort of 3, maybe one more. 11, through the demi-round, and through the next 3 beads. So let's pop the crystal in and see how that actually looks. So you can see there's the joins around the outside. So you can see those sort of joins there. Again, another great spot to build something more on that if I wanted to. And this is interesting because I've created a 6-sided piece, which is called a hexagon, and this is an octagon. So I'm putting an 8 into a 6, but because they're covered, you won't actually see that. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay, just pop it in there. It's not going to sit firm just yet, but that's the aim. The thread's getting a little short, but I'll continue on. So I've got another connection made there, and I've got one more spot to do that as well. And that crystal is holding, it's moving, so we need to make sure that it sits a bit firmer. But we'll finish that off and see how that actually goes together. And then can do some work on the outer edge of this. Look at that. Crystal in the middle, Can we see where the hole is? Not really. It's there somewhere, but I'm not too worried about that. And now I'm going to build on those little holes on the outer side there. So that's gorgeous colours. It's a nice strong component. We've got the front and the back as well. You could always net in the back of that too if you didn't want to see, but because it's foiled, it actually means you could wear it both ways as well. You don't necessarily need to cover the back in completely. But what I really like is this section that's just here, where I can still build out off those demi-round beads. So remember I had out a 4mm before, 4mm round. Let's go back to those. And it could be black or it could be copper or it could alternate it, couldn't I? So I'm going to pick up now again. What do I need? I've got some 11s. So I've got that sort of section at the side here coming out of a demi-round. Might pick up I'll pick up a rose gold first, then a black, then a round, then a black. That's my combo. And pop that on the side there. No, it's not quite big enough. It says still a little bit loose. It needs one more bead in there or one bigger bead. So I'm going to take those out. Oh, remember I've got the hot pink little fire polish that Angie gave me as well. So maybe that might be what I use. Literally deciding as I go. Okay, so now I've got a rose gold next to the black. Then we'll pick up a fire polish. Then what am I going to do? Maybe I'll do another black, then a fire polish, and then a rose gold. We'll see if that works. I think that's a bit lost. I sort of envision one big piece rather than the two fire polish. So that's not really going to work. Okay, I'll take that back again. Again, really experimenting as I go because it's about getting the right size and structure together. So I'm going to try now fire polish, a 4mm and a fire polish. So just the 3 beads straight through the demi-round. Yeah, that's better. So just trial and error really to see what's going to work in those gaps. So I'm picking up through that black demi-round on that zipping join that we made earlier, going all the way through like that. And now all of a sudden my piece is starting to feel really substantial and firm. And doing this extra outer edge is helping to hold the octagon inside the pentagon and creating a really structural, firm piece of beadwork. Really good component. Again, you can use this as a pendant piece, as a single earring, build on and make more layers. But the more outer edge that I'm putting into that little crystal now is not moving in there either. I might need to raid my own stash for some of these hot pink beads, which I know that I do have somewhere there. And there's one more fire polish. And come back up through. And again, what I can do now is build something else out of these, over these 4mm. So what do you think about that as a really nice strong component? The hot pink super duos, you can see there it's still a little bit movie. I can still feel it moving around. So it does need some more structure. So I want black to come into this more now as well. So I'm going to do something over the top of the 4mm. So let's try a 15 demi-round, no, 15, 11, demi-round, 11 and 15, and go through the next fire polish. Yeah, look at that, really great little point with the demi-round there. Needs something in between the 2 fire polish, so one single 11 should pop into that nicely. I'm going to have to add some thread here shortly. I'm playing thread chicken right now. 15, 11, demi-round, 11, 15. You can see I'm having to move my hand around on the beadwork because my thread is a bit short. And then that one's got caught. Did I break it? Yep, sure did. Broke a 15. So Let's add a new thread at this point. So you can see how I've made that point there as well. That will really, again, more layering can happen with something like this. Just pulled my thread right out of my thread holder then, but it's okay. And I can see I'm using smoke today. I often use crystal more than I use smoke these days, but the smoke is so dirty. Makes your hands dirty when you bead. The crystal definitely doesn't do that. But the smoke is an easier thread to join, I think, than what the crystal is. So again, I've done that sort of loop over the thread and the tail, and just do a really nice gentle melt of those two ends together. Pull that nice and taut, run my thumb and forefinger over that to round that knot out, and there's my joined thread. Simple, easy to do. So it's a great technique if you can practice joining your file line like that, and as I showed earlier, getting it really nice and close to your beadwork too. Okay, let's do that again. So 15, 11, demi round, 11 and 15, and go through over the top of the 4 mil. There's my knot just coming through there. The more I drag that knot through the work, the smoother it actually becomes. It sort of starts to round itself out as well. So 15, 11, demi round, 11, 15. So can you see this is a pendant, or do you see this, you know, more layers becoming more of a pendant, or does it become a single earring right now? Getting too big for an earring, I think, personally, unless you're like really, really super big earrings. But I think this is getting too big now to be an earring, but it does become a really super sparkly center of a pendant. You know, particularly if you made 2 or 3 of these and joined them together, you've got a really nice trio of pendants as well. So really fun way to work with beads and do component beading like that, and come up with different ways to join and connect similar pieces. So we've started with a really small piece, and it's just becoming bigger and bigger each time I add a layer or an edge to it. That this is how it becomes a pendant. And I know when I've done these sort of design on the fly things before, what happens is I look at them and then I think about how do we create this into a tutorial or a workshop, or, you know, free printable guides, all sorts of things. So these are great sessions for me personally in building my own design aesthetic and suite of projects that I can then share with other people. So I hope you enjoy that aspect of it as well. Particularly if you're watching along on YouTube, you get to see me design them as I go. And you can see here that little size 15. That's what I don't like about these ones. They get caught on my big needle. I personally only like to use a size 10 needle for 90% of my work. I'm really rough with needles and I bend them terribly, so I much prefer a size 10 needle, and I only swap to a smaller one if I need to. But it does mean that sometimes that, particularly this rose gold, light copper, Toho size 15s, it does not go through them. So I have to swap a needle or break a bead. Okay, here we go. We've got a little bit more structure now. It's still a bit loose. I feel like I need something else around that inside there, but I'm not too fussed about that just yet, because the crystal is well and truly captured in there. And I've now got all of these really great anchor points and connectors that I can now do something else with as well. So how big is it? So Penny's asked how big and how wide. Let's get the ruler out and have a look. As I said, I think too big for an earring, and I might hold it up so you get to see. Brian, do you want to just pop it onto me for a second? So there's the piece there now. There's the front of it. So if I put that up as an earring, and I don't have earrings in today, so I think it's a bit big myself, a bit wide. I think this builds out and becomes more of a pendant. So in terms of, I can flip back down again, in terms of width from side to side, it's 35. Brian, flip, thank you. It's 35 mil across. So yeah, I think it's a bit big for earring width. but I think it builds really nice to become a great structural pendant. So again, I've got these really great connection points and I want to do something else. And I've got all these beautiful drop duo beads and more of the super duo here as well. So let's try and add some more of those into this piece. So again, you might notice every time I'm doing a new connection or a new edge, I'm alternating the colours. So I'm using rose gold, copper, pink, black every time. And by alternating the colours, it tells me where the next anchor point is. So I'm coming from black, I'm going to pop a rose gold next to it. Then I'm going to try and join on to this little copper one down here. So I know that my section there is about 4 beads across, and I want to try and make alternating colours to fit in that theme, but to tell my eye what's the next point. So I'll start with, I'm actually going to start with a copper, then a rose gold, then potentially a super duo, and then maybe one more rose gold. And let's see what that looks like. And I'm going to go through that next, yep, that's it. Okay, so rose gold, super duo, rose gold, copper, up to the black. And remember, we've got these lovely 2-hole beads here, so we will be able to build more things out of that 2-hole bead because I've got that section there. So automatically I know that the drop duo is going to fit into that piece just there. So I can sort of see what the next reiteration of this is going to be. Okay, so copper, rose gold, super duo, rose gold, and then down through the copper one. So I think Brian's going to do a poll now because I still have silver and gold to go in this kit that Angie has provided. So let's do a bit of a poll and see which colour will I make next. So we have in the silver, there was the memory keeper piece, which was the little bow with the mirror or magnifier on it. There was also some beautiful little silver Monties that went with that as well, and the structural sort of netted balloon type looking thing too. Then we had in the gold, there was the braid and the 2 black and gold lentil beads and some little 4 mil bicones, along with the little gold bows. So I mean, the black and gold will be beautiful little earrings already. I can see those coming together. So we've got silver or gold. So I think Brian's put a poll up. So if you get a chance, let's do a vote and see what people actually think should be the next thing to do. And if you're new to Honest String, there is a couple of different membership options we have with our program here. So there is the Studio by Honest String, which is fantastic for beaders. There's 2 levels in that membership. Beaders and designers, really encouraging people to build their beading skills with the Honest String membership at the studio. And then, of course, there are some various YouTube membership options as well. And you'll find links for those below. Brian will pop those in. And I think I've made a mistake back there. Yeah, I have. I'm talking too much and I've missed my own colour theory in where I'm placing the beads. So I can see what I've done there. I've swapped a demi round in when I actually needed to have a copper bead. So I'll just go back a couple. So I'm trying to make sure that I have a copper bead either side of the black and a copper bead either side of the little copper one in the middle. So yeah, I've just got to go back and do a couple more there. So picking up 4 beads, maybe I need to pick up 5 because that makes a better flow for my head potentially. I don't know, we'll see. I'll just undo a couple of those and get that right again. Okay, so what I did in the first one, I've done copper, gold, rose, yeah, that's right. Okay, so that means either side of the copper I need rose gold, silver, yeah, that's the theme. And then I have copper next to the black. Yep. Okay, so remember I have copper next to the black, then I have demi round, and yep, that's right. So yeah, just using my own colour theories here. Okay, silver is the winner. Great. Okay, we're going to be working on the silver. So, as I said, there's the memory keeper piece there that has the little magnifier and bow and brooch, and automatically that'll be a really lovely little piece of fringing to use on that piece. And there was also some Monties in that as well, and there was the sort of balloon piece too, which that's something to bead around and add things onto. So definitely some options with those. And then, of course, the gold was the lentils and the braid. So fun ways to use them too. We'll think about that in the next reiteration. Okay, I'm nearly at the end of this. So you can see how now this has really become quite a substantial piece. And it will just need, you know, one other row, and all of a sudden we have a pendant. So it's a great way to use small beads and make something really sort of big out of that. And you can see here I've now got all those super duos are attached around the outside. There's my tail thread. I'm just going to remove that because I don't need that any longer on that back piece. And we have the holes here of the super duos to actually go up, and the drop duo is going to pop right in there. So what I'm going to do is now do copper and rose gold and possibly copper again and come up through the super duo, just like that. No, it needs something more because that's bunched that underneath. It needs one more bead in there. So what I'm trying to do is, you know, link up to that next edge here. I'm actually just going to zoom that in a little bit more so you can see a bit closer. Is that better? Brian will tell me if that's better. Okay, so copper. Remember, I had those pink beads. Maybe I'll do that. The pink fire polish. No, I haven't got enough of them. Okay, because I want to put the drop duo in the middle there. Maybe I need some more black in here, potentially. So I did have the black bicones out. Let's just grab some of those. And the black will start to sort of mute down, is that a right word? And it's a different shape again too, which is another great shape to bring in. And then if maybe I'll do a black next to that. And then if I do black, drop duo, no, that needs another one in there. And the wider this becomes, the more beads that you need to fill in these sort of holes and bridges across the piece. Yeah, that sort of looks okay. So you can see here I've added black, black on black. We'll try that again. Okay, now that comes down to that one there. So I need black, bicone, and copper, and go down to that black center one. Let's just have a look before I get too carried away. What do you think? That's sort of just one little edge piece. And you can see what I'm going to have to do next, can't you? I'll have to come up to that edge of the drop duo, but that's okay. That will build out that way. And that would probably be then the finish, I would think. Do we like the black bicone in there? I don't know if I do, to be honest. I think it's not quite right with the black on black. Anybody got any feedback on that? I'll leave that there for a second while I just think about what's the right shape to go in that, because I don't know that's it. I like the concept of a bit more black around the outer edge, but I don't think the bicone is the right fit. So maybe it might need a round in there. Literally just working out, you know, what's the best size and structure to make it a bit more seamless. I'll just take that out. Let's have a closer look at this before I do too much more. So you can see where the super duos are here on the outer edge. See how there's two that are close together and two that are far apart. So let's just have a look at that. So see there's two close together and two that are far apart. So the two that are close together, I want to sort of draw those in tighter that way with a drop duo in between, okay? And then I want to make that wider section there, that part there, fan out. So thinking about that, let's thread the needle again.
Anita said, gorgeous. not the black bicone. What about a rose gold? And Glenda said no.
Glenda said no, and Anita said no. Okay, I will take advice from my fans out here, Glenda and Anita. Thank you. We've all agreed the bicone is not right. Okay, so let's ditch those because I just like the idea of having some black in it. But let's try rose gold. Okay, rose gold round. Yep. Okay. Oh, I had them out already, didn't I? Copper. Oh, they're the dark copper. I need the right one. Rose gold. Of course, all the way over here in the other box. I've got some rose gold fire polish actually, which that might work because that also then ties into the fire polish colour. And it's that sort of matte coppery one as well. Okay. What I'm going to do though first is I'm going to move my needle to come out between the two super duos that I want to make more of a point rather than the wide one. I just want to start at that point and get that little bit right, because what I want to do is draw those two super duos a bit more together so that they're in a point. Okay, so I don't want to add too many beads into that, so I'm just doing a 15, a drop duo, and a 15. Penny, you love the drop duo. I do too, Penny. I've used these a lot in different things, and this particular one that's the rose gold and black. See, now look how perfect that looks just there, because I've drawn those together as a point and I've made this wider section. So the wider section is where we'll add in the matte fire polish beads. Okay, now if I go back to my colour theory of doing a black alternate, a fire polish, and then a black, and then go through that black centre bead. Yeah, I don't like it, don't like it, don't like the black. Don't know why I'm thinking that that's going to work, because it's not. That can get lost. Not going to work. Okay. And thank you too for finding me here on YouTube Live. If you may have known that I've transitioned from doing these on Facebook Live at the start of this year, because Facebook no longer keeps the videos online any longer. So we have made the move to go everything over to Facebook. Over to YouTube. So thank you for finding me over here. I do appreciate the fact that you've had to change platforms to see this sort of stuff. Okay, we'll try rose gold instead, because I think that's going to work better. We'll try it. Rose gold, maybe a 15. So I've tried a super duo, a demi round. That's better. That's created a much better angle. Okay, 15, 4mm fire polish, and a demi round. And what that's done, because I've changed that sizing, that's created this really nice V shape there now. See how that just fits together better? Trial and error, that's all it is. So 15, drop duo, and 15, and then through the super duo, like that. So that, remember, that's my super duo that I want to draw those 2 points together. There. Okay, so now we'll do 15. Is that right? Nope. It's demi round, 4mm and 15, and then through the black. And that's just clicked that into place much better. Yep, I'm happier with that. Okay, so 15, 4mm, demi round, through the super duo. And we've got this lovely V in there that, again, we can fill in. So just building layer upon layer. I'm like Sarah Lee here. Layer upon layer. But we've captured a beautiful volcano crystal, the octagon into the pentagon. And it's all flowing together and making a really nice pendant. But of course, you know, if you're looking at something like this with this component, at the point of where I had captured the crystal in the center, you could make that just an earring in its own right. So, you know, I've gone on and built more layers onto something like this, but you could definitely turn that into just a single earring as well at that point. So when you're thinking about building components, there's lots and lots of ways to make those layers work for you in building out bigger pieces, or smaller ones if you want to as well. Okay. Okay. A Rizzo bead could have worked from Anita. Yeah, a Rizzo bead. Rizzo beads are very, very similar to the drop duo bead, other than the drop duo bead has 2 holes and it's a bit more of a teardrop shape, but the Rizzo's the same sort of length, and it would be a great drop bead to use in something like that as well. So yeah, you wouldn't necessarily then have to go and put something else through that second hole of the drop duo, which I am going to do with this, because that's going to give us just that little bit more structure and layering to this. And I still think at the center of the piece, I am going to have to just firm that up slightly, only because I can still feel it moving around a little bit. And I just feel like it needs another row around the center front. But I'm not worried about it falling out, because it certainly won't fall out because it's got that much layering going around it. But just to make it a little bit more structurally sound. Okay, so remembering what I've got here every single time. And we're nearly done with this, but yeah, it's amazing how adding different layers and extra sort of edging gives you more and more opportunity to build on and add into that work. And these are my 15s. And see how I get in such a mess so easily, can't you? Just grabbing out things left, right, and center here. Oh no, that's not one of them. It's one of them. Try and keep myself neat and tidy when I bead. That's a challenge for me. I am using my big desk board here today, which is what I use every day when I bead at my desk. And it's the biggest board in the Bead Station range. And I've got my Freedom insert on that because it has no sections on it and I can just bead however I like. But there's certainly a great range of different Bead Station boards available on a string. So if you haven't seen one or haven't had a look at them, please make sure you have a look and see what our bead board range is like, because they're a great interchangeable inserts. So you can change the way that you bead. We've got the removable mat option as well, which if you've been a beader for a while, you'll know how frustrating it is when the mats disintegrate on those very expensive boards and they have to be dismantled. Whereas with this option, your mat can just be replaced really super easily. So make sure you check out the Bead Station boards on a string. Okay, there's my edge. Now, it looks great. It's a little bit lacy yet because it just needs that final edge to hold all those pieces together. So what I want to do is come out of the top hole of the drop duo bead. And of course, I've got all these lovely little connector points that I can go through. So I'm just going to add in, I think, 2 copper. And I'm going to go all the way through the demi-round and the, yep, that's it. Demi-round through to the copper, the 4 mil. Add in 1 more, come up through the demi-round like that, and then 2 copper. And this final edge that I'm doing is just holding all of those things in place and creating really great structure on the outside of this piece. So, and it's really simple. It's just 2 copper beads through the top hole of the drop duo, through to the fire polish, 1 bead in the middle of the fire polish pair, and then up through the demi-round like that, and then just 2 more through that drop duo bead. So you can see how that's just given automatic edge and structure to that piece by adding that final row. So it now is a really lovely substantial pendant piece that you can build a rope from. You could make several of these to join together. You could turn this into a brooch. There's lots and lots of options with something like this in the way that it can be further utilised. So now we're going to name this piece. That's the next fun part of doing this sort of work. Anyone got any suggestions for what I could name this piece? It's got a beautiful, you know, frilled edge. There's a pentagon involved. There's an octagon involved. Not that you can tell there's an octagon any longer. It's got lovely frilly sort of sides to it. So I might leave it over to you guys to come back with some name suggestions whilst I'm finishing this edge off. I really do like how that's sort of ruffling a little bit on the edges as well, but it's feeling really nice and secure too. So it's not feel a vision as you're watching along here. You can't feel this, but let me tell you, it's got a really nice substantial weight and feel to it now. And that little ruffle just looks really pretty on this and makes it a little bit more organic, I think, as well. So nearly done. This is the sort of thing too that you can build a bail from as well. You can find some lovely metallic pieces and components that could go in with this too. And now it's got a really nice ruffle all the way around. Okay. There we go. Look at that. Great colours, really good structure, nice and firm, nice ruffle. I'm actually pretty happy with that edge because it's not flat. It's got a bit of movement. You know, could then build other layers off the inside of that too. You know, it's got, yeah, great bones here to become something more than what it actually is right now. Could still build on it. And when I say layers, I could actually build off that drop duo there and create another layer that lifts the front of that as well. Let's have a bit of a think about that. So I think that's the size. I don't think it needs to be any bigger. The size is, let's measure across, it's now about 45 mil across. So that's a really good pendant size. But we could do another layer, I think, that comes off that sort of front section somewhere. So let's have a look at what that might look like. I'm going to come down, just sort of maneuver my needle to come down to the front section here. And I want to come out of, you know, one of these connection points down the bottom and make another little petal layer that comes out of this. So, come on, just find the right spot to go through. Brian needs a bigger notepad. He's writing suggestions to me over there. Okay. Anita, volcanic lace. And Brian's called it the hidden pentagon. Okay. I could be something that comes out of the White House if I call it the hidden pentagon. Okay. Now remember one of our connection point at the very start was that size 11 and demi round when I zipped those two pieces together. Do you remember that right back at the very start? That size 11 is where I'm going to make my next layer come out of. So I've gone all the way back to where I did that original zipping on that piece there. What I want to do is just make a bit of a layer here. Volcanic lace, I like that name, Anita. I think you might be the winner. Okay, I'm going to pick up another size 11 and then I'm going to pick up another drop duo and another size 11. And what I want to do is just go through the next size 11 there, because I want to make a front layer on this so that it creates a bit more of a raised section that sits in the front. So if I hold it up that way, you can see just here, that's where that next layer is living. A little bit lost, but it will, I think, build. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way through to that next size 11 bead. So this right back at our very start when I used those 2 mils is where we're at. Now, potentially this next layer colour could have been black if I wanted to, but I'm going to use the drop duos. And maybe I might flip it. So the drop duos have sort of a 2 colour to them as well. I'll just hold up a couple so that you can see them. See, one side is fully rose gold coloured and the other side's got a little bit of a black stripe down the centre. So maybe if I make the black side on the front, that will start to bring in that sort of darker matte tone. Okay, so I'll just pick it up so that I've got the black side on the front if it's got one. Some of them might not have that 2 colour, but Maybe I'm thinking too far ahead with these. Okay, so again, 11, drop duo and 11, and go through that 11 right back at the start from our zipping. Oh gosh, my thread just come undone. Oh, just join that thread. Okay, so once I've done this layer, I might put this one aside. I think it'll be finished. Not sure yet. Maybe I might add more to it. And if I do add more, when I do the sort of finished video, I generally will go on and add on, you know, any extra things that I may have done to these pieces, because sometimes I can't finish it all in this session, just depending upon how much work I want to add on to it. But if I do add other things, I will always say, you know, what the extra elements of those things are. Yeah, that's good. So see how, this is what I like about this sort of technique too. You can see how I've used the 11s here. I've just added in one 11, but because I've gone through the original 11 from the zipping round, it creates that sort of nice line and point there with two 11s. Okay, volcanic lace I think is still winning, Anita. I think that's what's sort of set in my head. And if I was going to make this again in another colourway, which colourway would you suggest? Because I've got the volcanic bead here, another one of these sort of crystal hexagon shapes, pentagon 8. I've got another one of those shapes there. But I wouldn't necessarily make another one with the pink tones. You know, because of the volcanic has got like a green and a goldy tone to it too, I potentially could make one in green colours as well. So let me know what you think. Will I make another one in another colourway? I have to remember what I've made then, what I've done. But I can always go back and watch my own video too. What type of bail? Anita, yes, I don't know yet. This is a sort of thing I think, you know, as I said, you could make this into a brooch. Brooch would be lovely because it's got that lovely ruffle to it. I think in terms of a bail, it would be one that maybe would build from the back, so you don't actually lose any of the structure of the piece. Maybe it could be just a really simple loop that's sat at the back, and you know, I love to make a rope out of a cord, just attach a cord onto something like this really easily. Yeah, that second layer actually has really created great depth onto that piece now as well. So I'm pretty happy with that. And what that does, a layered piece like this gives you lots of angles and ways to look at it and think about how the beadwork has been constructed. And the more that I'm putting layers and edges on, the more secure that center has become with that Rivoli. Yeah, looks pretty cool. Okay. All right, come on, drop duo, drop on the needle. That one didn't want to cooperate. It's just a matter of sort of maneuvering my needle to come out through those 11 beads that I used in the zipping right at the very start of this, and creating that really nice point with the second 11 on those beads. And it's, yeah, we've then got another sort of angle and a attachment point because of the top hole of the drop duo. And sometimes with that you can just go around the drop duo and create a really nice frame around that sort of curved edge. I've used drop duos in a couple of my bead patterns. So the Candy Duet beads uses drop duo beads, as does the Deco Drop earrings uses drop duo beads. So I might get Brian to pop a couple of links up with those two sort of patterns that you can find as well. And they're either on the Etsy store or they're on the onastring.com.au as well. But those tutorials use the drop duo beads. And I've got a great range of colours of these. I do like them. They're a really pretty little bead to add into things. Okay, so we've now got this sort of ruffled section, and what I want to do is think about how do I just want to build on that drop duo. So I'm just going to hold it up so you can see that layer. See the second layer there that I've just put in it, and I've got that lovely hole that's at the top of it, and I want to try and highlight the shape of the drop duo. So what I'm going to do is come all the way through to that a new drop duo that I've just added here. So come all the way up through those two size 11 beads, and think about now how to add something around the sides of that. So potentially maybe it might just be a couple of 15s. So I'm just going to pick up 3 size 15s and go through that top hole. Yep, that's it. And then 3 more 15s and then down through those beads again. 2 size 11s. So you can see there that extra line that I've just put around the drop duo makes that really stand out. Okay, I'm not going to do any more on this now because I want to move on to another colour, but you can see the last thing I'm going to do is go all the way through again and just add 3 size 11s either side of those drop duos. So you can see I've done that there and it's created that beautiful line. Then it's about the bail and the finish, but I'll go into that later today, but I think that's a really great structure and start for a beautiful volcanic lace, thank you Anita, piece. So let's put that aside. We've done rose gold and black. We've done hot pink and rose gold and black. And now I'm going to move on to, I'm going to get a clean board actually because that's full. Now I'm going to move on to silver. So let's grab out another board. So the next board I'm going to use here is my square bead board. So I've got a blue mat, so I apologise that it's a different colour mat this time. But the square bead board, this is another one of our on a string beading range. Just pop those beads in there. The square one.
From Anita,
yep.
For the second, green and purple to catch the colour.
Perfect. Okay, Anita, I will put that on my list to do. I'll make the second one in green and purple. So I've got my square bead board here now, and I'm going to utilise this one to play around with the silver. So let's have a look at that. This is one of our bead station boards that has sections on the side that you can actually utilise to sort your beads if you're a neat beader, not me. Okay, this is what we have in our silver section here. So Angie's given me this great little what she called a memory keeper. So it's got a little magnifier thing on it, so I can sort of magnify and see things. So if, you know, you're going a bit blind, you could read that. And I think just it's really simple. To me, it's just a little tiny bit of fringing that sits on the top of that piece there. So that's one thing. We've also got this silver component. You know, I've got 2 great ring holes here as well, something that you can add a tassel from the bottom and then a chain from the top. And there's some lovely little Monties here too in silver. And the Monties, of course, they're I think, what did she call them? They're called a Labrador silver Monty. So they're not a crystal, they're an actual silver Monty. I think they get a bit lost on here. Silver on silver gets a bit lost. So it does need another colour to actually make that stand out. So you can't even sort of see that on there. I think in the honour of my blue bead board that I've got here, how about we put some blue with this silver colour? So I'm going to grab out, I can sort of see what colours I want to use with this. That one there, and I've got about 4 bags of that one because I really like that colour. You can't see what I'm talking about yet, but I will show you in a moment. That one there, that one there, that'll do. So look at these colours that I've grabbed out here. I've got the mermaid, Duracoat galvanised navy. I have the, that's a Toho, so I might put that one away. That's a, doesn't have a name on it, but that's a nice aqua colour. I'm going to put that one away because I don't want a Toho, I would prefer a rounder. There we go, my Yuki Luster, that'll do. So I've got 3 sort of greeny blue colours here, and I'm going to go to a crystal fire line, not a silver this time. And I want to just highlight those little silver Monties around the piece. So I'm going to pick the widest part of the silver drop. Will we call it a drop? Will we call it a balloon? I don't know. It's just a silver thing. The widest point here, and I'm just going to sort of try and attach. Now, this is going to be interesting because my needle's straight and this is round and it doesn't want to cooperate. Okay, so I need, actually, you know what I'm going to do first? I'm going to add a little piece of tape around it. That's a better way to start to hold some of these things in, because this will continue to move. So we might just put a little bit of tape around it. I think. Hang on, let me just think. Because the needle, and actually, you know what I need? I need a bent needle so that I can get in and out of that. How's that for a bent needle? That one might work. Because I need to be able to maneuver the angle and get that into place. Okay. And it's also a finer needle too. So, yeah, look, that one's just moved, whereas the other one, the big needle, wouldn't necessarily move. So I'm just going to tie that off, that thread on here to secure it in the first instance. Now, the Monties have that little cross channel at the back. So they've got an up and down sort of cross section. And what I'm thinking of doing is stitching down the Monty, but then adding the different colour of blues and greens all the way around that outer edge. And then if I get a tassel out that's in that sort of blue-green combo colour, I would do the same sort of treatment around the tassel as well. So, you know, creating a bit of a decorative hanger type thing. I'm not even thinking this is a pendant or anything at this stage. It's just more about the attachment. So I've just really tied that fire line there onto the piece. Pick up a Monty. So I'm going to go from across ways with this. Untangle that off my pliers that are on the desk. Okay. So bring that all the way through that Monty section there. So see that got that little channel that the bead just sits on the thread like that. And then I'm just going to thread that through another hole. I've just got to keep in mind the line. So I'm trying to do it all at the widest point. Don't know how many holes I went through there, but we'll soon work that out. 2. I probably want to make that gap a bit closer, so I only want to go through 1 or maybe 1 more. This is going to be tricky just to work out. No, I want to have 3 diamonds in between each one. So this is going to be hard for you guys to see on screen because the colour is, there's no contrast colour. Basically, it's silver on silver. But if I at least get 1 or 2 of these on, we can start to build out some other colour. It's tricky to get that needle through that. You need to get the bend, hold the bend in the right way so that it's angling up. So this is the beauty of having a bent needle too, is that it enables you to sort of use it a bit like a hook rather than as a needle and get into the right spot. I think I'm just trialing. No, that's not going to work. I'm not loving trying to put silver on silver. I'm finding that really difficult, partly because I think it's hard for you guys to see this as well. So what do you think? Do you want me to persist with this or think about something else to do? Because I know it's hard to see that on screen. I'm gonna ditch that. I'm gonna ditch it. I don't like it. Let's take that off. Okay. Let's think about this again. So we've got 2 really great holes, top and bottom here, that are great anchor points. So what I think I might do is use that, rather than try and weave through the metallic part, I'm going to strand this up and down. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to tie that at the top like that, because that was way too hard to get the needle through that piece. So still the same sort of concept in using you know, these sort of blue colours. So I've got the aqua colour, I've got that sort of mermaidy blue colour, and I've got the navy colour. And what I want to do now is just pick up, let's start with aqua. So let's pick up 1, 2, 3, I don't know how many I'm going to need, 3, 4, 5, 6, different amounts. And if I if I sort of vary the amount every time and where I place the Monty will have a different position each time on this strand. Okay, so you can see what I'm going to thinking of doing. Just place that down like that, all the way down to that section. I need a little bit more, it's a bit lost just yet. So that's the theory that now though, is I'm going to pick up several of the size 11 beads. I'm not really sort of counting because I'm going to make that a random placement of the Monty every time. So they sort of just sit down the sides and around this piece. Okay. I just want to make enough, and I will count the first one, how many in total, so we get the same every single time. But it's just attached around the loop at the top, and then I just want to bring it all the way down to that loop at the bottom. So probably about 3 more beads. And what I'm going to do is randomize where that Monty sits on each one of these strands. Yep, that's it. So how many have I got on there? Let's count them. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 31. Okay. Oh, what does that one? 32, because an even number sounds better than an odd number. I'm going to go through that loop at the bottom, and then I'm going to come all the way back up to the top again. And what I've done is just create a really nice strand around that piece. And I haven't had that challenge of working through the holes on that odd shape balloon piece. So it's not as difficult because I'm not trying to thread my straight needle through a curved surface. Okay, so there I am at the top again. So there's a strand. And that, means there's my sort of random Monty sitting there in the middle. I can do some more work around the top of this later on and cover off any threads and things like that. But I've now got one strand all the way down on a piece. I might just need to add a couple more beads at the top there, I think. 3 more. And I haven't threaded those through that initial strand, but it doesn't matter, you won't see that. Go back through there again. Yep, that's better. So that makes it 35 beads is what I need. See that? Okay, there's one strand, done. I'm going to go all the way back down to the bottom here, and I'm going to add another strand in another colour. And the Monty's just sort of attached on the side. I mean, at a later point I can come back and, sort of go from side to side with these as well. So let's add on another strand, different colour this time. Again, I'm just going to pick up a random selection or a random number, knowing that sort of 35-ish is what is going to be needed to go from side to side. Pick up the Monty somewhere in that sort of little strand section. So go through that cross section there and then come all the way up to the top again. So really super easy way to get colour, sparkle, but also the lightness that comes from the open weave of that silver piece is still a feature. It's not lost because we're not completely beading over it. We're just doing these little strands up and down the sides, and I'll probably need half a dozen or so, so maybe 2 of each colour. So it's still got that open weave feel, but the random selection of the Monty's. So that's come up there. Maybe I've got too many on that time. I might just take a couple off to start with. And attach through that top loop like that. Yep, there we go. And then sort of holding that firm, go back down through, add one more back on there. Back down through that. I'm sort of holding it firm with my finger And now I'll pull that tight. Yep, that's it. So there's a second strand done. So can you see the process and the theme of what I'm trying to get to here is these random strands of blue and variants of blue with the Monty in it down the sides of this open weave balloon looking thing. I don't know what you call this, a teardrop. Yeah, it's very light. It hasn't got much weight or heft to it, and it will look nice as a feature piece on the top of, I can see a tassel in its future. And go all the way back down to the bottom again, and then I just want to do another strand of another colour. Just secure that. Now they're sort of going to, these strands are going to move around. They're not, at this stage it's not coming out of the same place. It's moved over. That's okay. Okay, there's the second strand. Let's add a third one. Now, is anyone else beading along with me today? Do you have your own beadwork on your mat? Tell us one of the things you might be working on whilst you're watching, or if you're not working and just learning along with me, that's great too. Is there anything that we've done today that has inspired you to think about your next beading project? I'd love to hear that too, what you'd like to work with metallics as well. If you've got a favourite metallic colour that you like to work with. I'm probably in love with all of them. I don't have any real preference for any particular metallic colour. I do love rose gold, that is true. But in terms of what I wear personally, I wear silver and gold interchangeably pretty much every day. So today I've got gold rings on. Sometimes when you watch this, I'll have silver rings on. I don't have any real preference of anything particularly. I do like to share the love between silver and gold in my metallic jewellery. But I love to work with rose gold in beading, and particularly when you can put it with such a wide variety of colours. So do you have a preference in which metallic colour you like to use, and a preference in a metallic type of bead as well? Because I know I've got several metallic beads that I love to use. Oh, it's a hot air balloon. I think you're probably right. If I hung it that way, Anita, it would be a hot air balloon, a skinny one. Or if I hang it that way, it's a bit like a teardrop. So I don't know which way yet we'll hang that. We'll have to think about that when I grab a tassel out. And I've got some variegated tassels, sort of blue and green colours. I think I have. And I can sort of see that working with this as well, that nice long swishy variegated sort of colourway. So there's the second or third strand. So there's the three colours now of the blue greens that I've put on here. And now I want to add a fourth strand, like that. Okay, so let's go back to this colour again. We'll do this colour. So I'm just sort of repeating this, you know, random selection of size 11 beads with Monty's. Oh, you're doing an advent calendar bracelet. That's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that, Glenda, that you're beading away there. That's terrific. Good to hear that you're beading whilst you're watching as well. So I'll just pop a few more of that mermaid. I think that's called mermaid from the, maybe it's not, I don't know, but it looks like a sort of a dark turquoisey mermaidy colour. Keep adding some more of those. And I want to try and make sure that the two strands don't sit next to one another. You're just watching, Penny, and sending love. Penny, did you watch our team last night? It was fantastic. Brian and I went last night and watched the Mighty Pies, which was great. Nice to have a nice win. So we did get home very late last night because it's a long way from my house to the football, but Anyway, we had a great time, so it was good to go and see the pies have a win. Okay, so it's actually, yeah, these strands look really pretty around the piece like this. See the randomness of the placement of the Monty's works, because I haven't had to think about it either. It's just created a really sort of organic feel with those little sparkly bits. If I had to count and think every time, it'd slow down my process. So I'm purposely enjoying the random nature of that. There we go. And one of the things we'll be working on this afternoon is finishing the next instruction video for the upcoming keepsake box. So if you haven't heard of the keepsake collection, it's a monthly beaded box project by On a String, and they are 3D printed boxes with different themes each month. That you get to actually bead your own colours on either a gold or a silver box. And our next one we're doing is Easter themed. So we've got a gorgeous Easter egg shaped beaded box, and it has a lovely chevron pattern on the top that is beaded with flowers and some sort of chevron stripe. And we also have a, which one goes over there? I think that's right. Yep. And we also have a really great little odd count peyote pattern that goes all the way around the edge of the box, which is of Easter eggs, Easter ears and eggs. And Brian might be able to find that and show me that somewhere over there, so I can show you what the keepsake box looks like. So by all means, have a look at those On a String. They're a great monthly project designed for you to have a bit of ritual in your beading time. And do yourself a little project every month related to a particular theme. So this is our Easter box, which is the Easter keepsake collection, and it'll come with a little tiny bunny rabbit for you as well. So you can see there's your little box. Pop a little Easter egg in and gift it to somebody, and it's got the Easter eggs and the bunny ears all the way around the edge. The initial one we started with was our heart-shaped box, which we did in February. So it's got a lovely bead embroidered heart section and little hearts around the edge. And then the second one we did was autumn themed. So that's our leaf one. And that one comes with the little piece of cork and some vintage Swarovski sequins for you to use as well, and a leaf pattern around the outer edge. So make sure you check out the keepsake collection boxes, because it's a great ritual for you to do each month. And the concept is that you can make it, you can keep it, or you can gift it, and each one will come with a gift card, so that if you choose to give it to somebody, you've got a lovely little keepsake card that goes with it as well. Fun project. And that's my job this afternoon, is to finish filming the instruction video, because it launches next week. They launch on the 1st of each month, the new theme, but it is a subscription model, or you can buy a single box if you want to just trial it out and see what the keepsake collection is all about. But yeah, have a look for those at onastring.com.au. They're not available on the Etsy store, only at the On a String store. So make sure you check out the keepsake collection box. You get a video, you get your box each month, you get a gift card, and you also get a collector's card if you're a subscriber that shows all 10 cards that you're going to be doing. And anyone who's done one, if you have created your keepsake box already, by all means post it and show us a pic of that as well. Okay, so we've got one more colour of the dark blue to do here. So you can see here I've got these sort of random sections of beads going down the sides with the little Monty, and I need the dark blue one to just pop down that section. I don't love this bit at the top here. It's a bit untidy, so I will cover that with something. I'll cover that with some sort of flower or bead, or a bigger sort of section or collar or something, because the ring at the top is one way and the ring at the bottom is another way, the attachment is different on each end. So I haven't sort of talked about that as I've been beading it, but I've noted that every time I do an attachment at the top or the bottom, the placement is a little bit different. And that's okay. It just means that it's not very neat in terms of the way that it is joined at top and bottom. So to compensate for that, it will be hidden. No one will know. So I can vision what's going to happen at the top. I'll do some little fringing of tiny flowers or crystals or beads or something, or even something silver to keep in with that silver and metallic theme. But yeah, the hole at the top, sorry, the ring or loop at the top and the ring at the bottom are different directions to each other, so it does make it a little bit tricky. Anyway, that's a future Paula problem. So okay, so there's the final. So you can see there, draw that nice and tight. I've got my lovely little strands going around the piece all the way around. See what I mean about how that ring goes that way and that ring, yeah, they're not the same, but that's all right. Strands around. I'm going to do something around the top there. I think I'll attach the tassel from the bottom. I think it's going to go that direction, not that direction. It's a way I can, sorry Anita, the way I can sort of see it happening. And if I wanted to, because I've got those sort of little cross sections there of the Monties, I could actually join those together as well, potentially with a silver bead or another colour, just to sort of keep those strands in place. So I might do that too. We'll think about that. Okay, let's go back up through one of these little strands to a Monty so that I can think about that next join across. And then I'm going to grab out the tassels in a second as well, so that we can see which tassel is going to go with this too. Okay, so we've been going for about 2 hours. I'll probably go for about another half an hour today, so that's about a 2.5 hour session. And so I might not get to the gold today, so I apologise for anybody who desperately wanted to see the gold get done, but I don't think I'll get to that today. I'm going to pick out some silver beads, and I've actually chosen the matte silk. They're called Silky Silver. Matte Silky Silver here. I love this colour. They're a check coating on a Miyuki bead. Love, love, love these beads. And I'm coming out through the Monty on one of the side holes. And what I want to do is go up through the next Monty through one of the next side holes like that. And just go across. I've got a lovely tail that's got in the way there somehow. I'll get rid of that. And go across. Okay. So all I'm doing here is sort of making, different zigzag sections joined together. So I'll go over to the next Monty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know how many I need. Maybe that many. And it really doesn't matter because they will pull and drag those strands in different directions, but it will actually just make that whole net that's now formed around this teardrop hot air balloon just firmer. So maybe one more. I'm really just guessing each time how many beads I need to go. I'm just going through that cross section there. See how that's looking? It's actually, yeah, coming together really well. Now, if you wanted to be, more precise than I have been, you could count and make those Monties be in exactly the same spot every time. Nothing wrong with doing it that way or doing it the way that I've done it. It's just created a different point of interest in making them organic and in different placements. Silver, silver. Go right across like that, over to that middle Monty crosshatch part there. But yeah, you certainly could make those, be all in the same. I've just sort of made it a bit organic, really. But it's really given a nice little bit of firmness. And, particularly if I wanted to put another Monty at other sections on those little strands, you could go up and cross net those and that sort of thing as well. But that's just created really nice sort of little bit of sections and movement on that. I can sort of see here that would have been great to have another Monty down there. I've only got 3 left. But I could have put one there. And can I do that now? Let's see. If I break a couple of beads in that, yes, I'm going to break a couple. I'm going to break that one. What I'm just trying to do is get a little bit of thread in there. Yep. And I'm going to come across and I'm going to add some silver beads. I'm cheating. I'm adding a Monty in at a later stage.
Penny wants to know, did you buy the silver matte beads, or who did you buy them from?
Oh, they come, you can get those at Banjo's Beads or at Cranberry Beads, and they're sort of my two suppliers where I would get those from. And they're called the Check Silky Silver at 01700. This is on repeat for me all the time in buying these silky silver beads. Yeah, it's a standard one that I love to get. And there is a matching gold version, which is my other all-time favourite bead. And the copper ones I used earlier today are from the same theme. But I think both Banjos and Cranberry hold those beads. So if you're looking for them, check out their sites. And I know that the gold one is called Aztec Gold, and it's a check coating on a Miyuki bead. So that's where the similar colours to when we're using, you know, some of the 2-hole beads in the check range, it's got the same coating on them. So they're a great, great bead. And I love the matteness of them. Matteness, is that even a word? Probably not. All my teacher friends out here will tell me that it's not a word. But I love the matte feel of them. And they're a way to sort of, you know, I've still brought in a metallic, but it's not a shiny metallic. So yeah, I think they're a great, great, great bead. Okay, so I did do a little bit of cheating and added in a Monty. I should have really added it in earlier, but anyway, it is what it is. And so what I've tried to do is still create that sort of section of joining that Monty and just pulling that. It's gone through the other side. Come back there. There it is. What I want to do is show that that Monty is, you know, sitting on that blue strand there. So I broke a couple of beads to fit that in and just sort of move that. Yeah, there. It's sort of sitting in the right place. Sort of, it's sort of not. But you can see the gist of what I'm trying to do. So for me, it's really about how do I create those different organic connection points of the Monties around that piece like that.
Glenda would like to know, can you show or tell me the name of the gold cord you used earlier before you finished today?
That I haven't used yet today. I haven't used it yet, Glenda. This one here, it's called Gold Metallic Wired Corded Braid. So it's got a very fine wire in the centre of it. It will look great around a cab. I can see, you know, that's one way to actually build that around a cab, around the edge of something. I wouldn't necessarily use it with those earring pieces that Angie has given me today, but it would be terrific to use around a centre cabochon. Okay, so the more I sort of pull and move some of these sections around, some of the strands then become a bit shorter because they've been moved. So I've just added in top beads. So you can see there now how that's created a really nice sort of spidery effect around it. And I'll keep joining, you know, these different sections together. So I can now go from that one up to that one. Come back down through. So it's been easier to do it like this than to try and bead through the balloon. To just use the Monties as anchors and create those different strands of random sort of sections of size 11 beads and crossing those on the diagonal or opposite side with the silver beads. So I'm back at that section here. I'll just go through that Monty. That one really, my one that I added in is not perfect in terms of its placement. It really is misbehaving, but that's because I've tried to cheat. You know, really I should have just added in a couple of extra random ones within the section, but, you know, I didn't, so never mind. And I want to try and get another join in here somewhere, but maybe I'll come across from that one there. So I just keep moving my needle to come out of the right spot and join each time. And every time I do a strand or, you know, go up and down one of these outer sections, it is making it definitely more secure. Okay, I'm just going to put that aside for a second because I'm going to think about my tassel. Okay, let's grab a tassel out while I have a bit of a mental break from trying to go up and down those strands. And I've got in my loose tassel box, which is what this one is called, I've got a multitude of different tassels and things in here. So I know I've got some blue greeny ones that have got a really nice, see that one there, blue, the green one. So we've got blue and black, green and grey sort of colour, and I've got a green and white. So I'm just going to grab those ones out. Get a different one. And let's see which one of those can go with this. So these variegated tassels, I bought these off places like AliExpress, that sort of thing. And you can see how they're going to look with something like this. So we've got blue and black, green and grey, I think that's probably the one, or green and white. Any personal preferences? I think the green and black one. So they come with all of this extra stuff on them. And I just literally get my scissors and cut all of that off because I don't want any of those extra things. And then I will attach that tassel like that. So is it this way or is it this way? I don't know. I'll have a think about what that looks like. But that's what I can see as being that sort of final vision for this piece. Will be that nice flowy tassel, our little strands around the balloon head, the Monties as joiners. I'm going to go back and fix a couple of these pieces because I'm not happy with, you know, that sort of section there where I tried to add that in. So you won't see me finish this today, but this will be on my list of things to do. But you can see how the strands are just going to make all of that colour and section move. And then what I will do is build a collar that sits around this piece here to join these two together. So you won't see any of those joins as well. That's sort of the theme that I'm thinking. The second piece that I had here today in the silver, which I'm afraid I'm not going to get to, but you can see here this beautiful memory keeper piece. To me, it's a really simple fringe that's just going to come off that section just there. So flowers, stop-start beads, sort of blue and greens, you know, different sort of metallic and silvery pieces to come off that because it doesn't need anything else added to it. Now, of course, the other pieces that we had today were the gold. So there was the gold crystals, the gold cord, and the lentil beads. Again, another piece for me to play with. Simple earrings will come out of this, you know, really beautiful gold lentil. And then, of course, some gold drops and things and daggers that went with that as well. And the other thing that we did today was the beautiful volcanic lace piece. Thank you, Anita, for the name of that one. And the rose gold cross crystal earrings that we did at the very start. So there's our sort of work today. One finished, one earring, one not finished, and one almost finished. So you got to see me think about layering in technique in the volcanic lace piece, how to do some really simple embellishment on filigrees to create great components, and then thinking about how to use a rounded piece and a straight needle to get some of those strands and things on that piece as well. So if you're new to YouTube and watching me, make sure that you like and subscribe, and of course check out the various different membership options that there are at On a String. There's the studio with Crystal Club and Seed Bead Pass membership, and then of course there's various YouTube memberships that you can have a look at as well. That's been a great session of Design on the Fly today. Thank you so much to Angie from Chicky Babes Beads, who was our bead sponsor today. I really appreciate your support for this, Angie. And if any of you are interested in seeing any of the beads and things that Angie has, by all means pop her a message, and there'll be a link in the chat here today or on the post so that you can see where these bits and pieces have come from. So my job now is to clean up some of this mess and then get on to filming some more content for you all. So thanks so much for joining me today. It's Paula from On a String, and bye for now. Done. Oh.